Hello everyone, in this video we are going to discuss the emotions. So the inquiries of emotions, as you can see here, we discuss the different emotions such as depression, mania, anxiety, panic, restlessness. So for this kind of inquiry related to emotions, sometimes it's more like to understand the general condition of the patient. It's not only for inquiry, so not only for asking, we always see from the inspection, observe for their expressions on their face, the body structure, body postures, movements, and voice, and sometimes also we see from the body shape, such as patient with anxiety, they always more likely to be skinny, so they're slim, the kinds of patient. And so for this session, the study of the inquiry of emotions, what's important here is we need to understand what's the definitions of these terms. What's the definition of depression? What's the definition of anxiety? And because the inquiry towards emotions, sometimes it is a bit hard to ask the patient for emotions, such as if you ask the patient, do you feel depressed? Some patients will tell you yes, but most of the patients will say no. If you ask the patient, do you feel anxiety? They will say no. But when they say no, that means they do not have anxiety. Sometimes they just try to deny, they don't want to accept the state that they actually experiencing anxiety, or in in the other situation, the patient they don't really understand what exactly anxiety is. Although anxiety, depression, these words are quite commonly used in our daily life, but sometimes the patient they don't know what exactly these terms means. So as a practitioner, we need to understand what kinds of situation considered as depression, what kinds of situation considered as anxiety. So that's the study from this session. And from the inquiry, we don't really ask this kinds of questions. You can, but not always. So depression can feel low, sad, lack of interest, reserved, and anxious. Depression mostly caused by chi stagnation, phlegm, obstructing the heart mind. The mania refers to the intense feeling of well-being, happiness, excitement, and joy. Anxiety, unpleasant states of inner turmoil, often accompanied by irritational worry, fear, restlessness. As you can see, these different tones, sometimes they actually related to each other. There's no clear lines. There are no clear lines between or among different emotions. Panic, also related to the fear. Dysphoria, this situation is not common to see in our daily practice in the like outpatient. Mostly happens in the wards. These are some of the common emotional conditions in our practice we can see. The next session we are going to talk about the gynecological conditions. From the 10 questions that we have introduced in the general introduction, from the questions from the chills, fever, perspiration, sleeping, diet, all those questions, they are the same in gentlemen and ladies. So for male and female patients, we will ask the same questions, but for ladies, we will ask additional questions, especially related to menstruation, leukorrhea, and pregnancy. So these are very typical in ladies. Also from these typical symptoms or typical signs, you can see the body constitution, also as well as the pathogens towards the patient. So the first one, menstruation. Menstruation is the discharge of the blood from the uterus in females who have reached sexual maturation. The periodic, that means it comes as cycle. It is closely related to the kidney, liver, spleen, stomach, uterus, 冲 meridian, 任 meridian, and qi and blood. So these organs are closely related to the menstruation, which means in order to have a normal menstruation, we need normal function. These organs need to perform properly in order to have normal menstruation. Why the spleen and stomach? What's the function of the spleen stomach here? Why we will use spleen stomach here? That's because the menstruation is the discharge of blood. It is a kind of blood which is from the spleen and stomach. The spleen and stomach is related to the middle jaw. That's where the source of blood comes from. The kidney and liver stores the blood. One stores the blood, one stores the innate essence. So these are the organs that are related to the source of menstruation. Menstruation lasts from the age of 14 until menopause. So the age can range a few years earlier or later, but that's the common age. Why it is 14 and 49? That's from the theories in 黄帝内经. Ladies have the cycle of, or have the laws of 7. So at the age of 7, at the age of 14, at the age of 21, and eventually at the age of 49. So every 7 years, there's something changes in ladies. And in male, the cycle is 8. So every 8 years, at the age of 8, at the age of 16, at the age of 24, at the age of 32, if something changes in male. The average menstruation cycle is approximately 28 days from the first day of one menstruation period to the next first day. That's why mostly we call it 1 month, but it can be, sometimes it can be slightly a few days less or a few days more. The regular menstruation lasts 3 to 5 days. The average volume of menstrual fluid, which is blood, during a month cycle is approximately 50 to 100 milliliters. These considered as the median volume of the menstruation. And actually the volume here, 50 to 100 milliliters. This volume is not like the discussion in the urination. We said that you can measure the urine. So how do you know, is it a medium volume, a normal volume? How do you know 50 to 100? Do you have another measurements, more practical measurements from this? This is something we're going to introduce in our therapeutics in the menstruation sessions. The menstruation blood is red or red-brown in color, neither thin or thick, and no clots. So that's the normal menstruation. If you see some clots in the menstruation, this is an abnormal situation. So these are the healthy menstruation for a healthy lady. The first time comes about 14 or slightly earlier, and the cycle is about 1 month. The menstruation lasts about 3 to 5 days, and the color red or bronze. There are no clots. And the questions related to menstruation mostly will focus on the cycle. How many days? From the first menstruation to the next menstruation. From the first day of one menstruation period to the first day of the next one. What's the how many days? And how many days of the menstruation last? So we're going to ask the cycle. We're going to ask the bleeding days. We're going to ask the property of the blood, the color, the clots. Also, we will ask, do they suffer from any pains in the menstruation during the period? The cycle duration, volume, color, property, dysmenorrhea, the painful menstruation. And also it's very important to ask the last menstruation period. In the records, sometimes we write as LMP. That's what does it mean, the last menstruation period. So these are the questions we need to ask. Abnormal menstruation cycle. Abnormal menstruation cycle can be early menstruation, delayed menstruation. An early menstruation refers to a menstruation cycle less than 21 days for 2 months, or for constant 2 months, continuous 2 months, often caused by heat disturbing Chong and Ren meridian. She falling to control the contraction blood. Here, how do we understand the early menstruation? Why it's due to the heat. For this kind of symptoms, you need to think about the heat. The heat can can promote the circulation. That's why if a patient got excess heat in the body, it will improve the circulation, will promote the circulation. That's why it causes early menstruation. Then on the contrary, the delayed menstruation will caused by coldness. That's because the coldness will slow down. The coldness can be the pathogens. The coldness also can be the yang deficiency of the body, called internal coldness. So that's the pathogenesis of delayed menstruation. And the delayed menstruation refers to the cycle more than 35 days for continuous 2 months. Irregular menstruation period. So one's early, one's delayed, and irregular refers to the cycle can be less than 21 or more than 35 days for 3 months. So this refers to sometimes the period counts less than 21 days, sometimes it counts more than 35 days. The reason for this is qi, the qi stagnation the disorder of qi movement. Although we mentioned the disorder of blood movement, but the disorder of blood movement also due to the disorder of qi movement. Why the disorder of qi movement can result in irregular menstruation? That's because if the qi move faster, they will have early menstruation. If the qi move slower, they will have delayed menstruation. And the qi can move faster or slower. And the reason for the qi movements, we still need to locate to the different organs, such as the liver, the spleen, or the kidney. The liver qi stagnation, the patient may experience like irritation or very bad temper. So these are some of the other symptoms. Some of the symptoms of irregular menstruation. And the irregular menstruation, also the delayed menstruation, that's because the symptoms of these terms is that the blood didn't come on time, so they delayed. This also can be the blockage from the pathogens. The abnormal menstruation volume, the heavy menstruation. Heavy menstruation, in very layman words, that you got extra or you got excessive blood during the period. Why patient will have excessive blood in the period? That's due to the heat. The heat will disturb the blood movement. The heat will promote the blood movement. That's why. The first reason is the heat. The second reason can be the qi deficiency, because the qi fall into constrain the blood, or qi loses the function of confining blood. That's why the patient will have excessive blood. The last one is the stagnant blood in the uterus. That's why the patient will have heavy menstruation. That's because the stagnant blood block the meridian in the uterus, and the normal blood will not be able to go in to perform the normal circulation. It will cause bleeding. The common situation for this stagnant blood in the uterus is very similar when people, like after delivery, they keep something in the uterus, they will keep bleeding, or after abortion, like partially abortion, so it's not fully abortion, they will keep bleeding. In our theories, we think that's the stagnant blood in uterus. Scanty menstruation. This basically means there's less blood in the period, less than normal. So when patients suffer from don't have enough blood in the period, if they don't have enough blood, the first one is they don't have enough source to generate the blood. Right? If they don't have enough source, that's from the deficiency of kidneys or the axons. Also, you can the coldness, the blastasis block the meridian. That also will cause the scanty menstruation. Meteorrhagia and meteostaxis. These two terms are quite similar. They both refers to abnormal bleeding from the vagina that is not associated with menstruation. So this bleeding, the patient presents with vaginal bleeding, but not during the menstruation period. The sudden profuse bleeding is called metrorrhagia. The mild dribbling blood is known as metrostaxis. The pathogenesis of these two are quite similar. One is because of the deficiency, that's the qi, lost the control of the blood. Which qi? It can be the spleen qi, it can be the kidney qi. So the kidney, the spleen, the kidney lost the control. That's why from the description here they said failing to secure. That's the similar translation of the lost the control or loses the function of confining. The second is the heat. Excessive heat in the uterus will cause the bleeding. So that's the characteristics of heat. Excessive heat can cause bleeding, more likely to have bleeding. Excessive heat in the uterus, excessive heat in the tone meridian may cause bleeding. So these are some of the common situations of metrorrhagia. Amenorrhea refers to the absence of menarche in girls older than age of 18 and discontinuation of menstruation for 3 consecutive months in women of reproductive age. So amenorrhea refers to two types. One is girls, the absence of menarche after the age of 18. The second is if the menstruation didn't come for 3 consecutive months in reproductive age. So these two are considered as amenorrhea. Amenorrhea can happen in pregnancy. So during the pregnancy, during the lactation and menopause, the patient will present as amenorrhea. And in these situations or these periods, this is considered as normal. That's why we say the physiological states. And the pathological conditions can be the deficiency because they don't have enough source to generate the blood. The deficiency, the blockage. So the amenorrhea, when you think about the pathological situation, that's from the deficiency and blocking and the excess. Excess is from the pathogens, which pathogens can block the period. That's from the blood phases, coldness, phlegm, and dampness. Abnormal menstruation color and property. Patient presents with deficiency. We have pale, so the pale red actually is the light red. Thin menstruation blood. With the heat, we have a dark red or even brown, thick. They can feel thicker. Brachiasis can have a dark purple, so even darker with clots. And sometimes the patient may present with coldness. So these are some other symptoms and properties. That's why we also ask about the PANS. Dysmenorrhea. Dysmenorrhea refers to a low abdominal pain before, during, or after menstrual periods. This pain, why the patient will have pain, then you can think back to the videos that when we discuss about the pain. Mostly due to the cold condition, cold retention in the uterus. It can be the excessive from the exogenous pathogen. It also can be yang deficiency, cause internal coldness. That's exactly why many ladies, they can feel dysmenorrhea and they can feel better if they put a hot bottles at the lower abdomen. That's because the hot bottles can relieve the cold retention, can relieve the coldness from yang deficiency. That's why they feel better. And dysmenorrhea also can happen in the excessive situation that's from the qi stagnation or blood stasis. For qi stagnation or blood stasis, they will present as distending or stabbing pain. Why distending? Why stabbing? That's from the pain of the characteristics of qi stagnation or blood stasis. So if you don't remember this, you can refer back to the videos when we talk about different types of pains in the previous videos. So here we also integrate different symptoms together. When we talk about dysmenorrhea, we talk about the pain in the lower abdominal area. Is distending, stabbing, also related to qi and blood. Until here, do you still remember that's the example that we discussed at the beginning of our study, the theories? There we gave you the example that we treat the different diseases with the same formula. We treat the same diseases with different formulas. So the reason why is because you see from such as the patient with stomach ache, the patient with headache, but if the headache is due to blood-stasis, so a patient presents with headache, with stabbing pain in the head. The patient presents with chest pains with stabbing pain. The patient presents with stomach ache with stabbing pain. The patient now presents with dysmenorrhea, also presents with stabbing pain. All these kinds of diseases, we can use the same formula. That's because these diseases, the cause of these diseases are all due to blood stasis because of the stabbing pain. That's why we use the same formula. We can use the similar acupuncture points to treat the headache, to treat the chest pains, to treat the abdominal pain, to treat the dysmenorrhea from the same acupuncture points or similar or the same formulas. Because these treatments, we focus on the blood stasis. Doesn't matter in the head, in the chest, in the abdomen, or in the uterus. So the uterus and abdomen are quite similar, so it's not accurate to say so, but as long as you can understand that the treatments, we use the treatment of acupuncture or the herbal medicine to treat the blood stasis. That's why we can use these treatments to relieve the problems due to blood stasis in the head, in the chest, in the abdomen. Doesn't matter where it is. So these are the discussion related to menstruation. In the next video, we are going to talk about career. Thank you guys.